Hello and welcome to today's edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Kemi Fola Adeyemo. Today on the program, Lagos Ogun ban religious gatherings of more than 50 worshippers as 9 northern governors close schools for 30 days. Also, Senate urges President Muhammadu Buhari to address the nation and provide a special intervention fund to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. And later on the program, Oyinlola, Obada, Arapaja and others return to the PDP. Today, I'll be hanging out with Martins Oloja and Tony Nwajei. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
It's good to have you join us on the program. If you're ready, Journalist Hangout starts now. Global economies, sports, religion, and many more are tumbling under the scourge of the coronavirus pandemic. After much lull in the spread of the deadly virus to Nigeria, the country is now beginning to feel its pang, with the commercial capital, Lagos, now banning religious gatherings of more than 50 worshippers as part of measures to contain the spread. The neighboring Ogun state has also followed suit, placing a ban on all high-density gatherings of more than 50 people in places like halls, cinemas, clubs, restaurants, cafes, and sports centers. While in the northern part of the country, 9 governors, this in the northwest and the north central, have all resolved to close down schools for 30 days over fears of the pandemic. And that's how we begin the program this evening. Let me start with Tony. Now, it appears the main challenge right now is to curb or contain this pandemic as much as we can here in Nigeria. But looking at the fresh cases that have been recorded today, 4 additional cases, how confident are you on our ability?
I must be sincere. It's not about being confident. I'm not. Seriously speaking, I don't think, apart from Lagos State government, so far, that has really taken up the challenge, to counter or to check this pandemic. No other state. And I think it's something, that the federal government need to call a state executive council strictly to talk about. It's a national emergency. So far, we contain, today alone, 4, and I'm believing that we'll still have more out there. These are recorded cases. We can do more than what we're doing now, because for me, I'm looking at the panic, is creating, because I saw the news and I was like, just last week we had about just 2, and we're even prepared to celebrate the fact that the Italian is, and I think this morning, I read the news that the Italian is tested negative. So we're about celebrating, that we're done with it, and this. We are trying, but we are not trying enough. We are not trying enough. It goes beyond Lagos State, because anytime you want to talk about the containment now, it's Lagos you're going to, the state, only Lagos State. But I think it has to go. I saw the isolation center somewhere in the southeast, I think Enugu State yesterday. I saw the pictures and it's so scary. It looks like a graveyard. These are not places you keep people. You want people to voluntarily, report themselves that they won't come.
Enugu State government said it had now shelved aside
but before that
hundreds
time,
of millions of naira
before that time,
to build another.
to build. You see, they're to build at this point. This thing didn't start today. It started around this December. We're waiting for the last minute. It's always a pattern. We wait for for the last minute. I know it will get to this, because look at South Africa. I mean, just in a day. It happens like that. When you think you're comfortable, we like doing things in, this jungle way. And then this is what, today, 4, yesterday, today, who knows what tomorrow is going to be? And somebody is telling me they've just budgeted. Something is wrong with us. Something is wrong with us as a people. People who are supposed to be at the helm, that should know beyond us. The resources, we have the funds. Why do we have to wait at the last minute? Human lives, we don't value it. Look at the panic. I saw the isolation center, and then the governor is saying, what is he saying? What is he saying? And
All right. Okay.
We're not serious.
Let me put you on hold. Panic seems to be building in, but yet everyone is enjoined to be calm and do the needful. What are you seeing on ground, Martins? Are we ready or not?
I think, as Tony said, we are not ready, and we have never been ready. Not many people are surprised. We have never been ready for anything. You know, he was talking about Abuja. You know, we have been complaining about the unitary system of government. This is a test case for even the federalism that we are talking about. We have 36 state governors. We have 774 local governments in just spread over 6 different geopolitical zones. We are talking about Lagos. Lagos, just Lagos. We know the reason. Lagos is the center of everything. Lagos sets the pace for everything. Yes, it is not surprising. It is seen as the economic capital of West Africa. Yes, it's striving to be the 3rd largest economy even in Africa. So it's not surprising, but this is shameful. The president of the Senate the other day was at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, looked to inspect. Wait, the president of the Senate, the minister of FCT was not there. The executive secretary of FCDA was not there. That is the capital of the federation. Why would it have taken the president of the Senate to be inspecting? Where was even the health minister, who is resident in the Federal Capital Territory? And then the Senate president, who is usually calm, was surprised and was angry that the isolation center for the Federal Capital Territory was not ready. He said that they had earmarked 400 million naira for the building, and at the time he was speaking, not a dime had been released. And it was located inside the teaching hospital of the federal government university inside the Federal Capital Territory. It wasn't ready. And he lamented that in the neighboring states of Nasarawa, even Niger, Kogi, none was ready. We're talking about Enugu now. Do we have to jump to Enugu? Which one is ready? Where is the... Did you see the one of Ekiti State? Did you see the one in Ogun State or your state and neighboring states in the southwest, the Peseta states?
All right. The WHO has said Africa,
yes,
as much as we have had it,
yes,
you know, fair and calm so far, but now should be ready for the very worst.
Yes.
Now, if we translate that here in Nigeria, Tony, what would it be? All cannot be lost at this point now. There are, you know, millions, hundreds of millions of Nigerians, you know, out there who are at least hoping that, you know, this too passes over the country.
We're hoping, and we're praying at the same time that it doesn't ship into Africa. This Africa does not have the facility that the world is contending with. When I mean, like America, you can look at what's going on in Italy. They have all this equipment. They were prepared, but it took them unaware still. We are not prepared. We don't have it because let's put it the way it is. It is at the moment. We are not prepared. If it comes to Africa. Let's not wish it comes to Africa. Oh. We are not prepared. We don't have the facility on ground because it is Africa. Countries, when this thing started ravaging in China, countries that are serious, knowing that people move around the world on a daily basis, on the move, started preparing, putting things in order, in preparation, in anticipation. And I would have expected countries that have gone through Ebola crisis before to be more proactive ahead of the game because it is not situated in a particular part of the world. It's something that is, you know, they can't tell where it's going to be the next minute. And then we are here talking about it when it has got to this level. Now that you even mentioned
Ebola, now one of the 3 hardest hit countries in Africa, now Sierra Leone, as we have it, hasn't recorded any case of this virus. And now we're hearing the president now, going on to say he's going to seal up all the borders and, and do the needful, even because his neighbors are already recording this. But of course, the inevitable realities have to set in at this point now. What do you think, Martins, now of this advice? Social distancing. We are Africans. We love our hugs. We love our handshakes and all that. But then it has landed, and we just have to prevent this. So let's begin with social distancing, for example.
Well, this social distancing, this is not what you wait for government to tell you. It's a very small world now. Everybody, you turn to any station, you turn anywhere, you have to educate yourself, you take care of your family. It's not an ideal of, oh, I'm waiting for the president, or I'm waiting for any governor or any commissioner for health. This is a place where even faith-based organizations, churches and mosques are supposed to be educating people. And then you don't need anybody now. You take care of yourself. Take hold of your family for this social distancing. When somebody somewhere is saying, look, I can pronounce, I can evoke something from heaven, I can pray, and then the thing will disappear. Don't listen to that kind of person. You need the education to take care of your own family. Not somebody who will come and tell you, they say, oh, they are saying now that if you are more than 50 in a gathering or in a mosque, in a church, you don't go. Don't listen to such people. Our God is the God of anything, God of all possibilities. Our God is, this is not the time to spread that. We know God has always been like that. But he said social distancing, follow it. This medical science, most of the things about this medical science is follow some procedure. Even the professors, then they get to, when they talk to young doctors, when you see them in teaching hospitals, they ask them to follow procedure. Some of these things now, this is science. It's not theology. It's not anything science. Our God is the God of knowledge. He has put this knowledge in some people, directing us to follow certain procedure. So it is not a time to say, look, he's also the God of miracle. Miracle will wipe this thing out. No. Social distancing is social distancing. People who are telling us, they are telling us for our security, for our protection, for us to stay alive, to be able to watch miracles and other things like that. Social distancing is something that we should take seriously. We shouldn't allow anybody to come and tell us that, no, don't listen to people who are closing down schools. It's happening all over the world. Even in the first world, members of G7, which one now is safe? All of them are running helter-skelter. You see the president of the first, the number one country in the world, telling people, don't panic, don't panic. Do this one, they are doing this, they are doing that. So this is self-governance. This is self-control. Take control of your life, of yourself. Do not wait for anybody to come and tell you that I have something there. You also, you read procedure from experts that this is what to do this. Don't read all these things you find in social media. You use chloroquine to do this one. You do this kind of concussion to do this one.
Let me quickly get Tony to respond. Yes, absolutely.
You see, on the social distancing and proper hygiene, and all that, washing of hands and all that. I think when we sit down here, it's because we are enlightened to an extent.
Yeah.
That's why we even know most of these basic. If you go to the market, as we speak right now, go to the marketplaces in Lagos, for instance. I'm not saying around the country. In Lagos, for instance, my 12 market. They don't know anything about this space you're talking about. Social distance, they maintain 1.5 meter and all that. Or basic hand wash. Ask them about coronavirus that we're talking about today. They don't know. So that is why we're getting it wrong. First and foremost, there ought to be a massive campaign, enlightenment on radio, television, all platforms, social, whatever, that people need to know. A lot of people are not aware of what we're talking about today. 4 people today, if you ask them what, they don't know. So you need to go to that level first and foremost, because if it's going to come, it doesn't know class. It comes from, it does not know, it does not recognize any class, race, or whatever, religion, and all that. So first and foremost is enlightenment campaign. And I ask again, where is the National Orientation Agency? Where is the Ministry of Information that should be disseminating this kind of information at this critical time of our nation building? We are not seeing them. Every year they come to the National Assembly, they take budget is, nothing. We keep saying the same thing over and over. At this point, this is where we need to sit down. I need to open tune it to my radio.
Yes.
That's what I see. You go on CNN every day, from morning till night.
Yes.
It's coronavirus. If you're not,
because
we are not trying.
No.
We are not making efforts. We are not serious. We are not ready yet. That is, people first and foremost need to know. It's when you know that you can prepare against it. If you don't know, you cannot prevent anything. People need to be aware first and foremost.
Tony, I'm sure you all know, you both know that, this platform we are opportune to have here is, of course, to disseminate information, to give out advice. I know you are absolutely pained. I respect,
the agents of government that should do that.
Absolutely.
Not private stations.
But gentlemen, let's also be a bit more. Let's move on. Let's do what we can.
Yes.
We're doing that already.
No,
people are aware.
Absolutely.
See, Kemi, people are doing that already. They are doing the basic, safe hand wash. I have my sanitizer here. You go anywhere, you see those things being done. But it goes beyond. I need to know before I can do that.
As deadly as this disease is, we are also, hearing about, the recovery rates. Even here in Nigeria, too, the Italian, the index case is out.
Yes.
Is after all the necessary tests, and we keep hearing that the cases that are being treated at the moment are stable. How about that? We look at the Lagos process of disseminating information back to the NCDC, the Ministry of Health in Abuja as well. How do you look at, the interrelationship between all these, and perhaps if other states can also, join?
Yes, that is exactly what he's saying, that this thing is not something you just joke about. For the agency he mentioned, this agency has states in almost all the states of the Federation. National Orientation Agency, it used to be MAMSA. And they have state directors and everything like that. If you ask them now, they say we don't have money. It's not everything. Sometimes it's attitude issue. It's not everything that requires money. Some things require just your effort, your initiative to do something, to make noise at this time. What is this noise about? Just some civic responsibility. Just reorientation of people, sensitization of people to go to the marketplace and carry. Some people go to the marketplace to preach the gospel.
Even a megaphone, you're
Some
going
people
to
use megaphone in the marketplace to preach to people. Don't do this one. Even government officials,
some
of them stay. Is to end. This is a time where national orientation should not be left to National Orientation Agency alone. Most government officials should turn
from local.
Yes. With some faith-based organizations, churches, Islamic leaders, pastors, and all those things like that should educate their own members. The members have to leave to come back. This is not just government duty. This everybody's duty. This national consciousness. I was telling the story the other day of something in Rwanda that health workers have their ethical responsibility. That anytime there is an emergency, wherever you are, anywhere in the world, you don't need any circular, any prompting to return to work in a time of emergency in the country. And a Nigerian on technical aid, this core scheme, was in charge of the health management system of that country. When I learned about this thing through the late Professor Shotimeyi as health minister, when he was looking for the framework to manage national hospital, he went to Rwanda, he found this thing. But here, we leave everything to God. We want God to heal us. We want God to do orientation for us. We want God to do campaign for us. We want God, everything, we leave everything to God, even what God has equipped us to do. This campaign we was talking about market. But here, we are complacent.
Right, let me get back to Tony now. I'm sure as you go about, your duties, there still remain a sizable chunk of Nigerians in the country who still doubt, all that we have been reporting, all that we have been talking about. How do you relate with people like that? How do you pass on your message?
Kemi, that's exactly what I'm saying. And it's not my fault. I can convince to an extent.
And at the end of that, would you still blame the government, for not being proactive
government
enough?
has a mass platform. So disseminate information first and foremost. People need to know that there is a crisis. There's crisis around the world, not even in Nigeria, long before now. They need to know long before now. But tune to radio, all you hear about politics. We are not, because that's the problem we have here. The truth, except you don't want to tell us the truth, it's simply politics.
Politics.
This is the problem now. Now we are finding ourselves in a fix. This information ought to have been, long before now, being disseminated at marketplaces, but movements of buses, bus stops. It doesn't cost government any. They have the platform to do it. So I can do. I'll do my. You can try your best. You can reach the mass of the people. So if that has been done, that's when I can then say a lot of people, they are aware. But right now, I can't do that alone. Let's do a reverse. They should start that massive campaign. It's not late. They can start it now because a critical mass of Nigerians are not aware. And if they are not aware, we are wasting time. You're talking about you're only talking to the elites, people who read. A lot of people who are in the village don't even know what we are talking about. In the internet, they don't know what we are talking about. It has to go in deep. Okay, look at the one that happened in Oyo State. The current, I think the woman that tested positive, she was in Oyo, in Ekiti for like a week. We don't even know how.
One went to Oyo State, spent about 2 weeks, and landed in the Ekiti State and tested positive.
So that's what I'm saying. So you don't even know the extent. The person has
a case like that, Martins. Now, okay, so contact tracing is key, and at the same time, the larger populace, need to guard themselves against this pandemic. So how do we trace a case like that?
That is the reason for the orientation I was talking about, that it is too important to be left to an agency alone. That so many agencies, NGOs, everybody should come on board. Anybody can go to anybody's village now. You will not know. There are people who are not even aware. They receive visitors. They even see Oyibo people.
That's shaking hands.
Yes.
So a take home from you both is education is key. Orientation and it's not too late. It's not too late. We all need to buckle up.
Yes.
But then Saturday, this 13 ban rule now will enter into effect from these 13 countries where the government says the largest concentration of cases. How can we, seize the best opportunity or seize the moment, from that day? The airports, our airports secure enough to, monitor this process that the government has just, implemented.
The case in Ekiti, for instance, and all those cases, so many of them pass through the same airport. What do we have, even at the airport, how far, this is not Ebola. This is a very dangerous
even the world
is
confused.
Even in the first world, to test, they're talking about they don't have enough test kits, even in the first world. They don't have enough of this. I understand that our check at this airport, we've been there, they are thorough. However, you don't know people that the one in Ekiti had contacted in Obada. For the past 2 weeks, Ibadan is one of the largest cities in Nigeria. You don't know where they got to. We do not have the mechanism to even check their contacts. We don't have of this mechanism yet. Now, we don't see anything that is happening in Oyo State where somebody stayed for 2 weeks and two of them, one has been confirmed. They say one died. It's amazing the way we do things here. But the bottom line is that we have never been serious. We have never been ready for anything. We defeated Ebola, but this is not Ebola. We cannot just be relying on what we did. This is a new one. A new one.
All right, let's take a breather, gentlemen. You were watching Journalists Hangout. Still to come, Nigerian Senate urges President Buhari to address the nation, provide special intervention fund to tackle the corona pandemic. Stay with us. Thanks a lot for staying with us on Journalists Hangout today. And yes, in the time of disasters, countries look up to their leaders to provide hope and a sense of direction. In the face of the corona pandemic the world is battling, the Nigerian Senate has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to personally address Nigerians on the pandemic. Adopting a resolution after a debate on the coronavirus, the upper legislative chamber also urged the federal government to take more drastic precautionary measures against its spread. The senators also called for drastic measures like a travel ban, tighter border controls, restricted gatherings, stringent checking of coming into the country, as well as a compulsory quarantine for 2 weeks. Let's hear from the senators.
A case of Ebola, and it was also detected in Lagos. And when it happened, we can see how the government of Lagos rose to that occasion. But we cannot be too careful and say we leave everything in the hands of government. I want to support the motion that the Federal Ministry of Health and all the health agencies across the board have to take it more seriously by sensitizing our people about cleanliness.
Used here in the National Assembly. We should introduce that here, and to banks, to mosques, to churches, to everywhere, supermarkets. Let's have that done. Hilton Hotel is doing that. Some other hotels are doing that, but some other areas, most areas are not doing that. Again, people coming to the country, as said by the speaker before me, I want to emphasize that you should be quarantined. If you are coming from another country,
it does not respect any person if you don't keep to the rules. So we have a problem. These advanced countries, many of them have locked down or shut down. Two different words. Schools, offices, airports, and so on, they are now empty. We have a problem. Our airports, sir, they are still open. Our seaports are still open. And we don't have the machineries and equipment to really fight this coronavirus.
Urge Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, to address the nation on the situation of the COVID-19 in Nigeria. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2. Urge the federal government to take more drastic precautionary measures, including but not limited to travel bans, restrictions on large gatherings, tighten controls, stringent checking of people coming to Nigeria, including mandatory 14-day quarantine, banning of some countries. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate there demanding stronger measures to tackle the coronavirus pandemic, which, of course, we know that a number of cases have now been discovered here in Nigeria. And so there seems to be a loud demand now for the president to be visible in this in the midst of all this, measures being taken by the federal government. So, Tony, what do you think? There's a presidential task force, after all, set up, and of course, significant announcements have been made by this task force. So, how do you view this demand for the president to come out?
Yeah, it's coming out. The president coming out is very important. Very, very important. I was thinking that before now, he ought to have spoken to the nation, to give them assurance, and not to, calm them, ensure that there's no panic. We need to know we have a president who cares. Because go around the world, watch foreign media, and see what's going on in other countries. This is, if your president does not come out at this point, I don't know when your president will come out again. This is when the people need to hear their president speak. Appeal to them that everything, just assure them that everything is being taken care of. Thank God he has set up a task force. Then give us reason. That's the reason I set up this task force. There are other things we are doing behind the scene that in days to come will manifest. Just give us assurance. Let us know you are there for us. Nigerians need him, and you don't need the Senate to even prompt the president to do so. He ought to have done that before now, because for me, if he moves now, it doesn't make sense to me. He ought to have done that long before now.
What do you think, Martins?
Oh, definitely, as he said, as Tony said, all over the world, you see, it's a very small world now. You can see what other leaders all over the world, they stand in front of camera and address the nation, address the people, just like this, your synopsis. In a time of disasters, countries, I will even say citizens, look up to their leaders to provide hope and sense of direction. And Ongo Giwa Fiongo, the writer of Weep Not Child, said hope of a better tomorrow is the only comfort you can give to a weeping child. You know, our leaders, there is a place for experts and there is a place for leaders. Experts tell people, oh, this is what you do, this direction. But hope, if you are fearful, if you need your leaders to say, fear not. We are here. These are the things we are doing to contain this. We are a country, we contained Ebola. Will you pay tribute to even a prominent medical doctor who even paid the supreme price for it? You mention it and assure the nation, assure the people that you are their leader. At this time, as I said, you don't need the Senate. You are the leader. And the people, about 200 million people, it's not just a small country. Spread over 774 local governments. That if they panic like this, the leader should not be able to sleep well until you talk to people. The Senate is usually very calm. We even said that this is a user-friendly Senate. But this one now, you look at the mood, even in the Senate.
And
you
this
see
is
the
not the
people.
first time.
It's not the first time.
All through this week.
Yes, this
all
week.
Their sit-ins.
And just while this thing was going on, there was this disaster, even in Lagos here, that the governor of Lagos had to go to the nation's capital to show photographs to the leader that this is what happened in Abule Ado. You know, this is symbolic. This is not a good gesture. Seeing the leader examining the photograph in the same vein. This one now, where the nation is fearful, they are discovering more of these people who have contracted this, and the leader has not addressed the nation. Where it is not a condemnation, it's a piece of advice. He is our leader, and we look up to him. He has been elected for a second term, and he has a responsibility to address the nation, that nation, my people, fear not. These are the things that we are doing,
Gentlemen,
and we will overcome this.
Let's look at the palliative measures that have already been put in place during the course of the past few hours. First, the reduction in pump price. Now, though marketers are saying they've already bought commodities on ground with the old rate, so what's going to happen? They will not adhere. Some of them have been quoted to say that. There's also the government position saying more preference is going to be given to the health sector. Talking about prioritizing the budget, being reviewed, being reduced by at least $1 trillion. What do you make of all this? How far will this go, Tony?
Okay. On travel ban, because these are the measures so far taken.
Plus that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Travel ban, tighter border control, restricted gathering, stringent checking of coming in and going out of the country.
Well, that's on one hand, and of course we're looking at the economic implications, how this pandemic has affected almost every sphere, almost every sector in the economy.
It has affected like yesterday, for instance, the price of petrol came down to 120. That's at the Federal Executive Council meeting. Directive was issued to 125. That's from pump price, to 125 from 145. But as we speak, as we sit today, I bought petrol. It's still at
not at an NNPC depot.
It's quite across. They didn't say at NNPC depot. It should be across. So enforcement matters a lot. Pronouncement is different when you pronounce. And I think since yesterday, they report there's a feedback channel, and they are aware that they are not complying. But tell them to increase pump price, and they will not wait for directive from PPRA or NNPC or DPR. They immediately see them. They will shut all the station until the price the pumps are adjusted. So that is the problem we have economically. If you want people to feel this, I know what the rest of the world is doing at the moment. Indoors, don't go out. But there are measures to make, because it's not, if you tell people don't come, of course, there are people who live on daily income. They will definitely come out. But there are measures government now takes to cushion that, block that loophole. Payment, you're entitled to certain, allowances and all that, just for compliance purposes. For me, that is what the people will feel more. There is an emergency now, and I think economically, I'm not seeing what you just said. I'm not seeing the economic intervention yet from government.
It's not strong enough.
No, it's not. I'm not saying if it's strong. I'm not even saying it. Talk less of being strong. I'm not saying it.
Okay, so I want Martins Oloja to respond. So Tony is saying, let citizens stay at home, let people stay at home. How will that work in a system that operates in Nigeria? Of course, we know how challenging our healthcare system is, but what will a shutdown, mean if it does, if it does happen? What will a shutdown mean?
It is shut down. Nobody wants to be shut down like that. Nobody wants to stay at home. But this prevention is better. Like you need life first. We even had about even a media organization that has directed that people should be working from home, and that in this time of technology, we set up a mechanism to file your stories, to do all sorts of things like that. A situation where you have 19 northern states, some have shut down. 9.
Their schools have already been shut.
It's been shut, and then some have not been shut. Some then will be wondering why. You see, there should be a way of this communication, to shut down so many things at the same time. Not Lagos is shut down, but near here, Ogun State, if they don't shut now, some of the children will be wondering what is going on. There is need for understanding of the times. We need to understand the times we are in. It's not about punishment. It's not about this time. We need to stay alive because Nigeria, about 200 million people. If we begin to move again and we don't understand that, we stay hugging and say, don't worry, it is well. The blood of Jesus is enough for us. It can't happen here. It is not because the blood is not potent enough, but not that we should use and rely on that one and we not take precaution. That we need to stay alive. Government needs to ensure that people understand why we have to shut down so many operations. And then this is the reason for our leader addressing us. When the leaders at all levels address the people will believe them at a time like this. For what is it? To provide hope and sense of direction. Hope and sense of direction. And if you just do certain things, if the leaders do not explain the reason for this, they may even be misunderstood. So when we are saying that our leaders should talk to us, doesn't mean that we cannot hear or we cannot read. But there is a place for experts. And there is a place for our leaders talking to us, especially now that there is fear, there is anxiety everywhere. Our leaders need to assure us, as we even seen in the first world where they have better media to even reach the people. The leaders are in front of camera all the time.
By the way, Tony,
talking to people.
Are we even using, of course we have many specialists in the country, are we using our infectious diseases experts, are we using them as much as we should? I've seen someone expressing a position from the health sector saying even the presidential task force shouldn't be filled with ministers as we're having technocrats. There should be a place for experts, specialist experts to come give their take. We can't have enough of their analysis.
Yes,
advice.
because they are still taking it as a joke. We are not yet seeing it as a national emergency. Truth. We are not yet. It's not something you just quickly sit down, draft names, and said, we have formed a task force. At least, people all over, you can even bring people outside the country who are knowledgeable in this field. They can come. People are saying there's a movement at the airport. Our airports are still open.
Essential duties.
Yes, people are still coming into the country. And you draft list of people who matters. You know what I'm saying? Because we've had this kind of situation in the past. Ebola. How did we do it? Were we proactive or retroactive as usual? How did they tackle it? First and foremost. Then, before we now start sitting down, because the creation of that task force, for me, came like something that just came out from nowhere. It was so sudden. You must reach out to people first and foremost. I didn't see Nigerian Medical Association members on that list.
Yes.
And there are people who should, in charge of disease control. On that particular list, they did not. What you see is this one representing the ministry of this one representing the ministry of this, secretary of the federal government. I mean, this is not a political gathering. That's why I said
Science.
they are still saying it as a joke. Because if you don't see, I don't see why the SSG, secretary of the federal government, SGF should be on that, be the head. I mean, that's why, even if the president cannot handle it, the vice president is there. I would have expected him to be on top of it than the SGF, because this is more than, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. I don't want to cause panic, but we are getting to that level.
But these
people need to know what's going on.
But these ministers, are receiving expert advice, from health practitioners under their domain. So can they come with those reports? Can they come and throw it?
Yes, the ministers are politicians.
All right.
So they reason like that most times, and they want to make appointment. They first put people who work for them during the election, and we don't want that now.
So Martins, you also want this specialist to be there to give their raw advice, unedited.
Yeah, definitely. You don't need time to get members of task force getting advice from experts and passing it to the people. We don't need such time. When people listen, when they say this one is a medical doctor, this one is an expert in this one, people, the believability, credibility of the process is important at this time. But the way we do our things in Nigeria here, we fill the place with I think the two ministers of health, the minister of health, the minister of health, are medical doctors. They should know better what we are talking about. This is science. It's not a liberal art issue. It's not a social science kind of thing. It's science. And the people who need to provide guidance at this time are the people who know and people who should know. But the other side of it is that even in the Federal Capital Territory, the experts we are talking about have chosen to even go on strike at this time of national emergency in Abuja. This is the time. And I think that we have a responsibility to use this kind of medium to appeal to them that this is not a time to go on strike. No matter how you feel, this is a time of national emergency, is a time of national service. You have to be patriotic at this time. It's not a time, even if the people in Abuja, they are not doing well, they are supposed to issue a statement that no, even if the president sets up a task force that is not filled with them, that we need to be there, we will serve free of charge. All this task force filled with political people, that is not good. That is what we expect of our medical doctors, the experts in Abuja at this time, not to go on strike. We know their grounds. We know why people go on strike. But there is a time for everything.
But right now is not the time. Gentlemen, let's put this discussion on hold for a moment. Of course, we know that we'll continue to monitor the situation. But in the meantime, our viewers, please enjoin to do the needful and make sure they stay safe. This is very real. Well, moving on now, in the midst of the chaos and social isolation policy brought upon the world, it's also a season of migration for some politicians in Nigeria, whereas part of groundwork for future electoral success, I should say, the main opposition, that's the People's Democratic Party, staged a rally in Ibadan, Oyo State, to welcome back chieftains of the party. Among them, the former governor of Ogun State, Oyinlola, and former Oyo State Deputy Governor Taofik Arapaja. For the party leaders at the rally, their return is a sign of good things to come for the PDP. Of course, this mega rally of sorts now came at a time where people even raised eyebrows at the timing of that rally, looking at the concentration, the sheer number that would have converged on that venue, Tony. But okay, it has happened. Looking at the target now of the PDP move now, how strong do you think the message has been?
The message? I didn't send a message. I refuse to. People moving from one party to the other. They do it all the time. And it's not even an election. I don't understand the timing yet. I'm still confused.
The frenzy at this time.
Why are this, now that we are facing this, global challenge and all that, and then suddenly you want to do a political rally. This is not the time for it. It's not election time. You're welcoming Oyinlola, you're bringing them, okay, they are defecting back to the party. Why can't they just do it quietly? That is why I'm saying that we don't take things seriously here. And people that should know are not showing us example. We are talking about, I mean, the likes of Oyinlola is not somebody, you toy with when it comes to. So they know. But you see, once they go into that political, once they wear that political agbada, they don't know what's going on anymore. They forget that the world is at a standstill right now. Right now. They know. But politics takes the center stage. Most times in our national, everything, politics first. Everything comes later. It's a wrong move from any angle you look at it. Totally wrong. And I'm seeing a backlash of that. It's a totally wrong move. This is not the time for it to politics. This is a time for, we're talking about social distancing and all that. You don't need to gather crowd. And I can imagine this is the same Oyo State, this is the same Obada that this lady came out from yesterday. And I mean,
we had a case.
We don't even know the spread. And then you're gathering people. I'm so disappointed at the governor of Oyo State. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. This is not the time to do that. We don't need schools are shutting down. They're shutting down malls and all that, and then you're doing that. What do you need to get?
So Martins, where do you stand now? Okay, you may not be impressed, or you may be, but for you now, how far do you think this will go? This move now, it seemed like like a gathering of sorts, but it does seem to be passing diverse messages here and there, and implications.
As I quoted the word of God earlier, there is a time for everything. A time to gather and a time to distance socially. It's a time not to gather. This is not a time for political gathering. And just as we were saying here, what message? Who will understand the message? What is it? What is extraordinary at this time about this? I expected one former deputy governor, one former governor there, to have some discussion with the governor of Oyo State about how to handle this emergency, because Ibadan is one of the largest cities. It's a hub, indeed. Yeah, even in Africa, it's a hub. It's a political capital of the southwest, of western Nigeria. This is where they are gathering to do this kind of thing, and this is a wrong signal to show that they are not serious in that party. We should tell truth to power. They were in charge of this country for so many years, so they are not ignorant. Even Olagunsoye Oyinlola, a retired brigadier general, a former governor, just behaving like that. What discussion did he have with the governor of Oyo State? And the former deputy governor there, what discussion did they have about this national emergency? If it happens, how they are going to address it, they should be talking to others. That is the message that will sink in, not this kind of behavior. There is a time for everything. This thing they are doing is not the right time at all to be gathering at this one. When people are talking about social distancing, they see it all over the world. And even government, we are blaming government. Yet they are preaching
You're
it.
not setting an example. Wrong move.
Who is government?
Wrong move.
Who is government? What is government? If a former governor and a former deputy governor cannot be relied upon for even the civic responsibility, we are talking about orientation for people to understand. Who will do that? If they talk, if he holds a press conference about how the governor in the southwest are not serious, for instance, then people will take it seriously. But as he said, there is one terrible thing about us. We play too much politics.
Absolutely, and I was getting to that. Hold on a minute, please. I was getting to that because we've seen the PDP, of course, take a stand on the issue of how well the government of the day is fighting coronavirus. But then, if you also look at how the PDP or the opposition largely could use its platform, at a time like this, discarding politics.
You can see this exactly what happened in National Assembly. When they were talking angrily at the National Assembly, there was no party affiliation. They were talking as national leaders. We should give it to them. We may not like them, but for that moment that you saw that the way they were talking to the president, the way they are addressing, you didn't see any PDP or APC affiliation, and that is exactly what we expect. Nothing is wrong if the chairman of PDP, national chairman at this time, meets with the national chairman of APC to see what we can do to mobilize our people. We don't have to wait for the president or wait for any governor or wait for anything to take action, because they are there. It is representative democracy. Yeah. And one thing we do not emphasize much, even in the media, about this thing is that one of the functions of these people is representation. It's a
Yeah.
serious matter.
And they are not doing it for me. This is
They are
the
not
time.
representing us.
Exactly
at
what
this
Martin
time.
said. Yeah.
So we all need to be on all fours.
Yes,
Yes.
all of us. All of us.
This is the time, just as you said, that I expect the opposition to play, lead by example.
Yes.
It's not the time government does it. You say, no, it's not. No, this is the time. Now, if you look at from world, local government, state, federal, they have offices.
Yes.
Why not use that same channel? At least just leave government and let's say, this is what we have done in the heat of the crisis. Government, let's see what, and then watch government. Do yours first. Because as I said before, it's not everything shouldn't be politics. This is the time for political parties to step forward and say, okay, for people, when you say you represent the people, it's not about going to Abuja to collect.
No.
This is the time for you to be, to be concerned about their health, their well-being.
Yeah.
If you don't have the people, you cannot run for office. So I don't understand. This is the time I expect opposition to play another kind of role. Not all the time.
Yes.
All right. Well, Martins, I will allow you to, to give your final, words on this area. Is there any other, place that you feel the government has particularly not covered or overlooked?
Well, definitely, we will continue to do this advocacy, that they should continue to educate the people. They should continue to talk to us and assure us, or they want to encourage us to run away from the country. No, we have leaders. And they should demonstrate to us that they are leading us at this time.
And in the meantime, people are already, stockpiling. People are already like panic buying. Is this the time for it?
You can't control the people.
You can't.
Now, you can't tell me now that if I live here, I shouldn't go and go prepare. Because I know a lot of people may not know, but I know. So you can't even tell me what to do. That's where government, I think mention government, because they have the mass platform to do so, to educate the people that this is what we are trying to contain it. Calm down, don't, because today I saw a trending picture of one of these malls in the island, empty. They've gone there. People are beginning to stockpile. You can blame them. These are the realities. These are the things that's happening today. You can't stop it all over the world.
We even understand.
In Italy, for instance,
international malls are now even rationing the things, the items you can keep.
Those ones that are
the
ones that are open.
Well, indeed, pictures do say it all. Gentlemen, Martins Oloja and Tony Nwajei, thank you very much for your contribution on the program. I do hope that, of course, we will continue to see you every time we call on you. Thank you again. That's all on Journalist Hangout for today. Remember, you can also join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Kemi Folade Yemo. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.